Beruchim Habayim, and welcome to Torah Talk Chazaq's Tuesday night program with a special guest. Tonight we have with us Rabbi Yeruchim Silber. Shalom Aleichem, Rabbi. How you doing?
Baruch Hashem. Good to be here.
Great to see you. Always good to be with the Rabbi.
I'm inspired by Chazaq. It's my comment. It's tremendous inspiration.
Baruch Hashem. I'll do your work. Hashem, Rabbi Yeruchim Silber, Director of New York Government Affairs Relations. For Good of Israel of America. And tonight we're going to be talking about Torah and politics.
Wow.
And interesting topic. And before we jump to tonight's topic, the Rabbi give a little bit background about yourself and the great work you're involved with.
Okay, so I was born and grew up in Brooklyn.
Oh, yeah.
Brooklyn, New York, yeah. My father was a tremendous mechanech. He unfortunately did not live long, but there was a book written about him just a few years ago called Blazing the Trail. His name was Rabbi Yeruchim Silber. And many things that I've done as chinuch today are as a result of things he pioneered. He was the Manal of the Yeshiva Parkway, which I attended. And he was also chairman in the 1940s of Pirchei Agudas Yisrael. So Aguda is really in our blood. So I went to Yeshiva Parkway and I learned Eretz Yisrael in Abria. I lived in Eretz Yisrael. I learned other yeshivas. And for the last 30 years or so, I've been involved in basically, really since I left Koil, most of my career, been involved in, I guess, cloud work, kosher work, whether a little bit in government, a little bit I worked at some yeshivas I worked at for a little bit. I worked at one point, try to work with other yeshivas, but just helping them raise money. I was help with fundraising, and more the last 20 years I've been involved more directly in government advocacy, community relations, and trying to really strengthen and build how we can our community. So that's what I've been doing. So the last the last 6 years, and where I do the New York government relations.
Amazing. I see firsthand, Baruch Shem, all the great work that the Rabbi does. I've had the zechut, the merit to go with the Good of Israel on a mission.
More than once, to Albany.
More than once, right? I'm to Albany. We've done, I believe, Washington, yeah.
Yes.
I even had the zechut, the merit to go to Eretz Yisrael.
That's right. I wasn't at that one, but yes.
Baruch Hashem. And they do great work, and I think it's important that the world knows about it. And people always ask me, how is it that Torah and politics connect? It seems so far apart. And here you see rabbis going on these missions. And, everything is Da'at Torah with Gedolei Yisrael, the biggest rabbis of our generation, encouraging this and involved with this. So if you could try to shed some light on this important topic.
So obviously, Torah is the essence of the world. The world's created. I mean, this Torah is our world, is our lab. Everything we do is guided by the Torah.
100%.
But in order for us to live as Torah Jews, we need to be involved. And I'm going to read you a letter in front of me. Moshe Feinstein wrote this letter. In 1984, he said, the rights guaranteed by the United States Constitution and the Bill of Rights have allowed us the freedom to practice our religion without interference and to live in safety, which is true. America is not perfect. Nothing's perfect. But by and large, we can live as Torah Jews in America. We have a right to keep Shabbos. We have other things. We have rights. We can live our life. We have shuls. No one's telling us. No one's closing our. Well, usually not. I won't get into that. But generally, we fight those. But we have a right. But so we have a right to live as Torah Jews, to use the political system. It goes back 2,000 years to Shtadlonis. Goes back to the time of the Gemara. There's so many stories in the Gemara of Tanoim, Amoraim, which is the sages of the Talmud, making trips to Rome.
Yeah.
And interesting enough, the Talmud tells us that there's a parsha in the Torah, parsha by Yishlach, which is when Yaakov was coming back and met up with Esav.
Right.
He thought Esav was going to attack him. And Yaakov did a number of steps, whether it's, of course, praying, sending gifts, which is not bribery, but something we have to send gifts, and obviously, and being ready for conflict. The Talmud says that whenever the rabbis went to Rome to intercede on behalf of the Jewish community, they would study that parsha. And one rabbi said, if he didn't study it properly, he was not successful. He knew, because the Torah is a guide. The Torah gives a guide. Everything in this world is guided by the Torah. The Torah gives a guide. When Yaakov had to deal with Esav, that was the guide of how we work with, how we intercede, how we do Shtadlonis. The Shtadlonis is a 2,000-year-old concept of going back to the time of the Talmud. So Agudas Yisrael is really, the Stadlonim of today was started just over 100 years ago.
I was going to ask.
I mean, I'm sorry, the America, it is a
History of a good Israel and being politically active. Was that always on the mission? Was that always part of
the I will say, Good Israel started over almost 111 years ago, in 1912 in Europe. It was started by Gedolei Yisrael,
including the Chafetz
Chaim, the Ger Rebbe, Reb Chaim Moser, and others, the biggest Rosh Hashivas and Rebbes and Gedolim of that time, and they felt the Klal Yisrael had to be together, united. Aguda is together, Achdus, togetherness. B'yaskum Aguda Echas, we say in the davening on Rosh Hashanah. Klal Yisrael has to be united in combating and dealing with the issues of our time. There were issues then at that time, 110 years ago. There are issues today. That was started then, and the first, one of the first ones that was known was the Knesset Gedolah, was like 23, where the Daf Yomi was introduced, the other things were introduced. So Aguda was very active in the world of Aguda in Europe at the time before World War II, which was obviously decimated during the Holocaust. In America, in 1922, there were a group of young men in the Lower East Side, idealistic young men, not famous young men, who heard this organization in Europe and decided, hey, let's do something over here, something similar. I believe it started as Syria Aguda Youth, but eventually merged with the larger Aguda movement. Aguda came to its own during the war years with the legendary Mike Tress, Olav Shalom, who was so active in the Baratzala, and the work has been written up in many places. The tremendous work that Aguda did then in helping bring people. Just last week, someone showed me I was at a wedding, and someone showed me recently a clipping from the old Modern Journal. It was the old Yiddish paper, the Morning Journal, and it was a thank you ad from Satmar Kehillah, thanking Mike Tress for the old Satmar Rebbe, Zechfad L'Rocha, was brought to America. Mike Tress from Aguda was able to get the visa to bring the Satmar Rebbe to these shores, to America, and so many others.
Someone also showed me a video clip of a Chazaq event where Rabbi Yeruchim spoke about how Mike Tress helped a Satmar Chassid find a job.
Sure.
And he had the job, and then the individual, the employer, told Mike Tress, you could stop paying for the individual because he's a good employee, and I'll start paying him.
Yep.
The Satmar.
Sure.
Amazing stories. Such inspiration, such chizuk.
It began then and continued through Rabbi Moshe Shera Zechem Tzadok L'Rova, who was the next president. Rabbi Moshe Shera in the early 1960s testified in Congress. He was probably the first person by the Yarmulke ever to go in front of Congress. I believe Baron Kotler just went over with him what to testify, and the first time to testify about A&T yeshivas. So Rabbi Shera was really the guy that I say the Rabbi Shera biography is like a textbook for those of us that Stadlotas. It's really a textbook at how to do Stadlotas, how to deal with government, how to make sure our asked, and so really. There's a tremendous history. And
many years ago, someone, when it just came out, I don't remember how long ago the book came out, but quite a few individuals actually handed me the book.
Absolutely. Yes.
In the Gedolim, it was amazing. It's funny.
So, yeah, there is the rich history of Stadlonis and continues to Good Israel today. Our headquarters are in Manhattan, but we have an office in Washington, and we have about a dozen or so offices around the country covering the majority of states, over 30 states around the country. We have offices, and we have just in New Jersey and in Maryland and Florida, Illinois, Colorado, California. I missed some, but it's
I want you to Ohio. We get a lot of phone calls coming in.
Yeah.
Many times these regional directors, I think they're called. Right?
Yes.
They're good chaverim of ours over here, and Baruch Hashem, they've been very helpful with cases that we've had for community members and Chabad members to. Working on Shabbat and, issues with certain schools or cases of even prison that they've been very, very helpful with.
Just recently, I had a story, something came to me with a person in a different state unfortunately was found not alive. And I had to call two of my colleagues to help for contact with the medical examiners. That happens often. So we network very often, and we have that network, and all of us work together with each other as colleagues and as networks to help one another. So it's a tremendous group of people. I don't want to mention all the names because you know them all, but like I said, I missed one off the top of my head. But it's a tremendous chevra, and they're all superstars.
This is more of a relatively a new thing within Aguda that you have these regional directors in different cities.
Yes.
And all of them are rabbis.
We're all within the last 20 years. But all Choshev B'nai Torah rabbis are very, very, yes, every one of them.
Very, very inspiring. So the question is being politically active, I guess we use that term. Is it for everyone? Is it only for certain, key influencers or rabbis or community leaders? Or is the average person that's listening to this Torah talk, to this podcast, is it for them? After hearing what Moshe Feinstein said and hearing how it helps so much.
So it's for everyone. Actually for everyone on different levels. You can go to Albany or Washington or City Hall or whatever state you're in. Go to your state house. Certainly you can go along. I'm always looking for company. People
Rabbis there all the time.
Besides that, we do have a number of days a year we bring groups up. So that's certainly the biggest involvement. You could meet your legislator, your local elected. People don't realize.
But I would start even in beginner level.
Well, I'll go backwards.
Sure to be registered.
We'll go backwards.
Yeah.
Or backwards. I often tell people, and I'll talk about voting soon, but how important it is to vote.
Yeah.
And you find that in a presidential election, everyone votes 60, 70%. At a local election, you don't vote. Most people don't get to see the president. You can't go knock on the door. You don't get to see the president. You just don't. We don't, obviously. But your local election, your local elected official, you see all the time. You see him on the street, in his office, at events. You see them. You connect with them. And people don't realize if the local ones
Have more influence.
everything on getting a traffic light, getting a zoning. I'll tell you a quick story.
Sure.
We know Senator Chuck Schumer was the majority leader of the United States Senate. He started out as an assemblyman. Okay, we were at an event about a year ago. We were sitting there. My friend Josh Noble was there.
Those Jewish
coalition. Yes, and he was talking. He said, "Josh, remember I got you the traffic light in front of Mir Yeshiva 40 years ago? He remembered that. He got a traffic light. Then there was Mir Yeshiva. There was a street that was unsafe." And then he was the local assemblyman, and he remembered 40 years later, more than 40 years, how he got a traffic light for the Ner Yeshiva. Wow. So we don't realize how much people, they remember how it affects people on a local level. So the local people, it's very important. So you go to Albany, you get to see them, you could talk to them. You can meet the governor also. Governors are easy to meet than presidents. You meet your local senator.
You could see the governor, the senators, just come to Chazaq and stuff.
That's right, they're all there. You can obviously that's a way you could call, send an email. I've heard someone tell me that if I get 40 emails, an elected official once said, they'll all tell you, if they get 50 emails on a certain issue, they're going to pay attention.
Yes, for sure.
They'll pay attention. If a person has to feel involved, call the office, make your presence known, and more than anything, vote. Yeah. Vote. Every single person can be involved. If you can't, a year ago, I will talk about the Chazaq thing soon. I guess a year ago, when the state education department, the regions put out regulations that would have hurt our yeshivas, how many people responded? 350,000 people responded.
And you were involved.
Very important. That was their involvement. They got involved. They took 5 minutes at the time.
And it was a very big difference.
To send an email, to write a letter. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, that's their involvement. And it made a difference. Well, we hope we don't, but it makes a difference because people get it. It's our stuff. That's the God Hashem or Baruch Shalom decides. But we have to do our part in this world.
100%. I had an elected official drive me once from one event to another, and he was showing me, you see this park? I was involved with renovating. You see this shul that is about. You see this the traffic light. They appreciate, like the rabbi was saying, when the community members come and show concern, and they want to make a difference, and it's important for them also. And like the rabbi is saying, to get involved, to reach out, to do the minimum is registering and voting, and then there's obviously plus.
Right. And the voting, the same letter, Rabbi Moshe Feinstein says, a fundamental principle, I'm reading again, of Judaism is Hakaras HaTov. Appreciation is recognizing benefits afforded us and giving expression to our appreciation. Therefore, it is incumbent upon each Jewish citizen to participate in the democratic system, which guards the freedoms we enjoy. The most fundamental responsibility incumbent on each individual is to register and to vote. No question about it. I was in government. I speak to people in government. The ones that vote are the people that count. Those are the people that are important. That shows that we are a community. We mean that we're important, and they'll take notice. It's and I cannot stress it enough. And the more local, the more important. Because let's be real. The presidential election. Listen, very important. I'm not downgrading it. It's very important. People should vote. And the president sets the direction for the nation, the foreign policy. That's all that. But the person on the street, on Main Street, the president's not going to know the person on Main Street voted for him. There's just too many people. But the local elected official, he'll know on Main Street in Jewel this quarter how many votes came out of this election district that's bordered by
And they
native Jews.
look and they see.
They'll see it.
Yeah, definitely.
They will see that. And they'll know it.
Yeah.
And that community, when that community is for a traffic light, hey, you know something? They will vote. They're about to come out and vote. I better come to a traffic light, because if not, they won't vote for me next time.
100%. You're going to touch upon the chinuch situation and in our country, in the city. What's happening over there? How can we be of help as Klal Yisrael?
So we know that chinuch is really what guides us. Chinuch is Jewish education.
Is what we do at Chazaq. Just for the record, upstairs where we're sitting right now, the second floor is our yeshiva placement division.
Beautiful. I've been there. I've seen it.
Two parents, the importance of a Jewish education. And Baruch Hashem, thank you Hashem, over 1,500 kids have transferred from public schools to yeshivas, Baruch Hashem. Yeshiva is an amazing thing, and
So I'll say two things. I'll start with a Torah thought.
Sure. It's Torah talk, so.
Yeah, Torah. In Parshas Kedoshim, right, there's an Avodah Zarah, an idol worship called Molech. Molech means is that it was an ancient idol worship. It's hard to understand, but a child, a father would take a child to the priest and walk him through fire. That was an ancient idol worship. Torah says, walk through fire. Torah says, Hashem asati ponai ve'ishu, I'll put my face, whatever that means in that person. Rashi explains that panai, I'll take my time, whatever God, as it were, as we understand, is doing, will take her from his time and concentrate on punishing that person. Why that sin? One that the other? There's many sins. There are sins of immorality. There are sins of idol worship. Why is that one sin the Torah is so strict that God says, I'll stop what I'm doing and deal with this person? So I saw Rav Shmuel Birnbaum, the great Rosh Yeshiva, the blessed member of the Mir Yeshiva, says a beautiful thought. He says, a person sins, I'll get punished for it. That's bad enough. You bring your child involved, you get your child involved. And he said in Yiddish, he says, you start with chinuch. That's the worst thing, because Hashem will take all his time. Hashem will make sure, do nothing else, take that. You don't mess, you don't fool around with education, with chinuch. You don't bring your child. You want to serve idols, that's bad enough for you. You bring your child in, power that God will be on top of that. And so, today, I was at, this neighbor, I was doing voter registration in schools, and I tell the schools, look, I said, what's the purpose of a school? Yeah, you learn Judaic studies, you learn whether it's Chumash or Gemara, of course, there are Torah studies, and the secular part, you learn mathematics and English. Every school has their own curriculum, but it's really one purpose of a school more than anything else. The purpose of a school is all subjects are means to an end. A means to an end. The purpose of a school is to develop students, prepare them for success in life. That's the purpose. That's why schooling has. And every school does differently. Some schools will concentrate more on this, more on that. Subjects you learn in school, you learn how to write, you learn how to read. You need that in life, but basically you prepare them for life. Our yeshivas, our hundreds of thousands of kids that have gone through yeshivas in the last 75, 80 years since after the Holocaust, prepare them for life. I'm a yeshiva graduate, you're a yeshiva graduate. We're prepared for life. I mean, I remember trigonometry from high school, but I do know that we taught how to live as Jews, we're taught proper ethics, we're taught how to conduct ourselves, and the results are we have communities that are happy, that are successful, thriving. Crime is very low. Borough Park, which is like the largest Jewish community, just recently had a study, the lowest crime in the city, lowest drug use in the entire city. My friend Simcha actually Selman was very proud of that. He obviously represents it, and it should be because, and why? Because yeshivas produce people. They produce people, and they produce people that are ready for life. So we can't have someone interfere with our chinuch, with our education system. We can't have bureaucrats and politicians tell us how to educate our kids. We do a good job. I just saw an article just the other day of I don't want to mention the name, but was involved in the elected official, not elected official, but someone who was involved, and they said that there was someone who was talking about public schools, and they said these people that are advocates of private schools like us, are starving our public schools. Starving our public schools? Excuse me. Do you know New York State, what it costs to educate one child in New York State in public schools? $36,000. The latest figure, over $30,000 per student to educate a child. What are we getting for that? Well, our reading scores are low, our math scores are low. listen, I'm not here. I support public schools. I have no problem with the good public. They should be good. But telling us how to run our schools, how to be our schools, we're doing a good job. So this is the most important battle going on right now, the independence of our chinuch. It's ongoing. It's going on the last 7 or 8 years, and it continues, and it's ongoing. And Klal Yisrael, Jewish people never give up the right to educate our kids the way we decide, the way our principals, our gedolim, our vada chinuch, our educational boards decide how to do it. Not how bureaucrats decide, not how many hours, how many courses. We know we've been successful. We produce successful graduates, and we'll continue doing that way. And that's why it's so important. The battle of the chinuch education is such a crucial thing for us.
And for the average person, again, how do they get involved by this? By making sure to be registered, making sure you're going out to vote, and being vocal with regard.
And like last year, 350,000 people raised their voices. Because they know the importance of the importance of the chinuch. Oh, we're perfect? No, we're not perfect. No one's perfect. But by and large, we've had tremendous success. Whether it's yeshiva, some modern Orthodox, Hasidus, whatever type it is.
So being politically active, Rabbi Yeruchim Silber, what would you say, a story or an incident, something that sticks out that gave you a lot of pride, whether it's with the yeshiva chinuch situation, whether it's in here, whether it's a person in prison, whether it's with regards to violations, anything sticks out, maybe a traffic?
Yeah, I don't know if it sticks out. I will say one thing, that I got Albany, have my yarmulke on my head. I'm proud of it.
And everybody knows you there.
And I wear my little, I got a pin on my lapel, I put it on, I put my little lapel pin on. I'm very proud of it. I once had in a meeting with an elected official, and he said an inappropriate word. I'm not saying who it was. It's not important who it was. It's something inappropriate. He said, "Oh, Rabbi, I'm sorry. I shouldn't take the Lord's name in vain in front of a holy man." So, I'm not a holy man, but I think that for us, and there's some of us there, the local assemblyman here, Rosenthal is a great person. He probably was Yamka, Assemblyman Eichenstein, Senator Felder, a few others in the state, and Assemblyman Ari Brown probably was a yarmulke, and in the city, Kalman Yeager, and maybe a few others. And it's incumbent upon us to make a Kiddush Hashem. We have to be held to the highest standards. We are held to a higher standard. We want to be held. We bring it upon us. We want to be held to higher standards. I think being there, representing, I'm not an individual. Maybe I'll take a picture with a politician, but I'm there representing dozens of people. And it's important for us to represent ourselves right, and to know we're on display, and to know that we're presenting Klal Yisrael, and to make a Kiddush Hashem, to sanctify God's name. I think more than anything, that's what we try to convey when we're out there. We try to convey that. And we're very proud of our community. We have nothing to hide. We're proud of our community. We're proud of our children. We're proud of our schools. We're proud of our groups like Chazaq that do such great work. And there's nowhere where you see, I've heard, just the other day, I'll tell you a story the other day about our group. I had someone who was very, not religious, doesn't live in New York, lives out of state, and the person couldn't get his car started. And someone called Chaveim, and he was just amazed. Chaveim came within 10 minutes. 3 different cars came and got his car started. Yeah. It's amazing. We think we're still unique, Yisrael, everything we do, whether it's Chaveim or Atzola or Tomchei Shabbos, all the other great organizations, every single one of them do such great things for every organization. Yep. Somebody once said, for everything the city has, we have a corresponding organization. They have an EMS, we have a Atzola, they have a police, we have a Shomer, and so on and so on. They have a AAA, we have a Chaveim. And this is what yeshiva, this is what yeshivas teach us. The yeshiva, the
Olam Chesed, even a world of kindness.
It's all about, we're out to help other people. We're out, we have to be, the great Rabbi Yeruchim Silber, who was the mashgiach of the Mary Shimon pre-war, right? That
named after many Jews?
No, I'm not. but I'm very proud to carry the same name. I almost feel because I was as a student by reading his work. So we have to be a pipe, because let's see, we have to a pipe to give to others. That's why we're here. We're here only to give to others. When we say v'ahavta l'recha kamocha, means we have to feel, not just say, feel we're there to give. We're here in this world to give to others.
V'ahavta, the word v'ahavta is ahava, which means love. How do you love a person? The root of it is hav, lehavi, to give. By giving to others, v'ahavta l'recha kamocha. The more we give to others, the more we're able to help. Rabbi Yeruchim Silber is so inspiring, so important, timely messages. I know that there is primaries coming up, and this Torah Talk and this podcast is on for all time, so people could hear and take the message to heart about being registered, going out to vote. They see it making a difference for Klal Yisrael, for the Jewish people.
Just recently, in Far Rockaway, not far.
That's one vote. What was it? A few votes difference.
15 votes. And it took
votes.
Weeks. It took weeks to determine the winner with absentee ballots and going on curing ballots and going to court. 15 ballots.
For our employees in Queens, Chazaq of the Q strain.
And I've seen other elections that are done by a handful of votes, by 5, 6 votes. Your votes count. And you know something, vote for the best person you feel best. And if you don't like the candidates, write someone and don't like it, don't just go in and show up. Go in and be because they don't know who you vote for, they do what you vote. And go in and make that selection. Have your voice. Get involved. Write a letter. Send an email. Make a phone call. Go to Albany. It all makes a difference. We show we're an involved community. Our community gets the benefits, and we get this Medina Shel Chesed, this country that's so good to us, will allow us to live and thrive as proper Torah Jews.
So be as go the Gula should come in should happen in here. I mean, I was going to ask the rabbi for a final message, but I feel like the final message was going out to vote, registering, being involved.
Yeah, that is really the final message. That is the no more bigger message than that. Whether it's this year or primary or next year will be a bigger election, but stay involved and keep involved, and there's no bigger message than that.
Amazing. Shukar Rabbi Yeruchim Silber for everything you do for Klal Yisrael. On behalf of Chazaq, we really, really appreciate it. Yad the Torah, Besaros, stuff until the Gula comes. We want to thank all of our amazing listeners. We want to thank all the podcasts that are holding this platform of Torah Talks, Chazaq Torah Talks, Torah Anytime, Daily Giving, a dollar a day goes a very far way. Thank you to them. Rabbi, Natan, and Meir, the whole team over here at Chazaq. Appreciate all your great work, guys. And keep in mind, everyone, right now is prime time. It's the most important time to reach out to Chazaq and let us know if you have any family members, friends, neighbors that are interested in the yeshiva education. Baruch Hashem, before the September school year is when it's very, very busy. We'll hold their hands. We'll guide them throughout the process. We've had tremendous siyata d'shmaya and success in this process. If for whatever reason it doesn't work out with the yeshiva placement, we have after-school programs, Sunday school programs, teens edition program. Get involved, make a difference. And, of course, suggestions for future Torah Talks are always welcome. Please send it our way to info@chazaq.org, info@chazaq.org. Chazaq Torah Talks, Tuesday nights, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time with special guests. Once again, thank you, Rabbi Silber.
Thank you.